Today we're going to be working on a 2014 Ram 2500 Mega Cab Laramie. We're going to be pulling out the radio here to install the V-line, and to do that we'll be taking off this whole panel here and also some of the center console here. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is pull this silver trim off here. For that we're using a pry tool and just going to work your way around. Just gently prying up, don't pry too hard. You'll just slowly want to wiggle it loose. And the biggest thing is you want to make sure you pull up where the clips are and not just on a corner or something where there's no clip. Otherwise you'll break it. And as you can see, there's a bunch of clips all the way around that are holding it in place. And now that we've got that done, we need to pull this piece out here, the rubber insert. I'm just going to stick my pry tool under it to kind of pull it out. There's a little tab here, and there's two little holes that go in and hold that in place. Now that we got that loose, there's two Phillips head screws here. And now that those are out, this whole trim comes off. You can just pick up on it, pull it out. As you can see on the back here, there's a few clips that hold it in place as well as the two screws. And now that that's out, we're going to be working on this piece here. Alright, so the next step is going to be taking this piece off right here. You can kind of just pull it up, or you can use a pry tool, either way. We've got two Torx bits in here, and those are going to be a T20. And then for that, we're just going to get those loose. There we go. And then we'll move on to the next screw. Alright, so the next screw is going to be actually in this pocket here. You can just push up on this and it comes out. There's those two little retention rubber pieces. And the screw's at the bottom right here at the very back. You should be able to see that in there. There we go. And that's a T20 as well. Alright, so now that we've got the screw out of here, the two screws up top, this whole panel just pulls straight out. I like to go in one of the corners first up here with my pry tool and just work my way around the top. Typically once you get the top loose, the rest of it kind of just comes off. There we go. And it just clips all the way around. Now that we've got those loose, we've got some plugs back here we need to unplug to get this out of the way. Alright, and here's all the plugs back here, so we're just going to start working those loose. There we go. Now that all those are loose, this just pulls right out. And then we can move on to taking the radio out. Alright, and here's the cables we undid. There's one over here, 2, 3 in the middle, and then we've got one right here. In some cases you might have other plugs here, it just depends on your model, but typically this is what you'll see. Now that we've got the bezel off, all we have to do is take out the radio display. On here there's going to be 4 screws, they're all 7mm, so we can get those off. And then the radio just pulls right off. And then we can go ahead and start disconnecting these back here. There we go. And that's how you remove the radio. Alright, so now we're ready to make our connections back here for the radio. We've got our T-harness right here. So we're going to hook the female side up to the factory plug. Make sure you match up the larger pins and the smaller pins with the factory plug. And make sure you pull this lever back like this whenever you go to plug it in. And then once you get it about halfway like that, then you can push down on the lever. It'll lock into place. And then from there, I like to just push this back a tiny bit. Make sure you keep all your other connectors up here. And there is another connector that fell down. That would be this one right here. This is for the factory USB. We're actually going to be using this connector behind the radio on our harness that we send, which will be this one right here. So this cable will be unused. And then the next step will be running this. We're going to be putting the V-line down below here. So we're just going to run it directly down below. There we go. And then we'll do the same with our other harness. Alright, now that we've got those in place, we're ready to put the radio back in. Alright, so now we're ready to put this back in. We're going to pop the lever on this, just like we plugged it into the female side of our cable. We're going to do that on the back of the radio. It's about halfway there, and then we can push down. Here we go. And then we're going to plug our USB in here, the CHRU mini USB. Just like that. And then your antennas will be the last. And then you'll want to set it back in here. Make sure you get this middle part lined up here. That kind of keeps it in place from tilting. And then we can start putting in our screws. that's back in place, we can go ahead and put our trim back on the front. Alright, and to get the trim back in place, it's best to just slide it in at an angle. And then from there, we're just going to start plugging all these back in. Alright, now that we've got all those connected, slide the trim back in place. Make sure you line up the vents where they go. And just give a good push all the way around. Make sure everything's lined up, nothing's in the way. Alright, now that's back in place. We can go ahead and put our screw back in here, and then our two up top. Alright, so now we're going to put our top two T20 Torx bits back in. And after that, you can put this cover right back on top. Just need to line these two up. And lastly, we'll be putting in the T20 in this pocket right here. Alright, so now we're going to be putting in the center console trim here. You want to tilt it at an angle, go around your shifter, and then just lay it down. Sometimes you have to push it forward a little bit up here to get it to go. There we go. And just push down on all four corners. It should fit flush right here. That's how you know it went in correctly. And we just need to put our two Phillips head screws in right there. Alright, and then we'll put these two Phillips back in. There we go. And then lastly, we just got to put in the piece of trim right here. You want the smaller side back, and then this little piece goes right there. And then lastly, we'll be putting on the silver trim. When you put this on, you want to be careful. Make sure you're pulling it around every corner, slowly working your way around. Otherwise, you can get it caught on one of the corners and it'll break the plastic. Once you can push on it all the way around without feeling it move or without feeling any clips getting pushed in, that's how you know it's all the way in, just like that.